Hello and welcome to the Mara Project. Mara Chua here and welcome back to another episode of Peaches Reviews Pages, the official vlog tie-in with my book blog called Peach Pink Pages. I keep getting the titles mixed up. This is what happens when you have an alliterative name for a vlog or book vlog. But as you can probably tell, it is nighttime for me right now. Actually, it is past 10 p.m. So it's almost my bedtime. And since I'm in my PJs, why not tell you guys a bedtime story for this vlog's entry, right? Well, it's not really a bedtime story, but you might as well think about something disturbing in your sleep. So before I begin and reveal the book that I will be discussing, I would like to give you guys a big trigger warning. So, this book contains themes including violence and abuse and substance usage. So, viewer and reader discretion is strongly advised. So, this book is not for the faint-hearted, or at least there are a lot of triggering subjects and topics. So, if this book or title that I will be revealing is a bit uncomfortable, feel free to click off this video. What if you saw the world differently compared to everyone else? For Jack and his ma, room is their world. So this is the book that we will be tackling tonight. Emma Donoghue? I'm sorry, again, I do not know how to pronounce these names. Emma Donoghue's 2010 novel Room paints a haunting portrait of the secret tortured lives of a mother and her son, disguised as a kid-friendly fantasy world told by its 5-year-old protagonist, Jack. He goes on all sorts of adventures with his 26-year-old mother in the 11 by 11 foot space they both share, the room. As a curious kid getting older, Jack wants to learn about the world around him, even if it's in a small space. He plays with blocks, other toys, and watches his favorite shows like Dora the Explorer and SpongeBob SquarePants. He could be just like every other kid out there. But in reality, he isn't. Spending the first 5 years talking to only one person, his mother, Jack's mindset had been strained due to his upbringing, believing that the outside world does not exist and only two people exist in his life, Ma and a man known as Old Nick, whom Ma has been trying to protect for years by hiding Jack in the closet every time the man came over. When I was in 6th grade, I read the book from my school's library, thinking it was going to be a fun little story. I was aware of some of the themes presented already then, like being imprisoned and trying to break free from it. That alone scared me, and maybe I shouldn't have read Room at such a young age. I was only 12, mind you. Cue another 12 years later at the summer community market in the mall, a new friend's booth, shout out to Dampot and Ketsy store, was selling second-hand books. Room happened to be one of them, so I decided, why not pick the book up and read it again now that I'm much older, right? Oh, how I shouldn't have read that book again. Now it would be easy for me to understand a novel better, with the hint of traumatizing myself harder than I did the first time. Little Jack believes that the outside world is non-existent. Everything else he sees only ever exists on television. Ma, trying to protect her son alongside herself, still does her best to give him a better life by keeping him healthy, regulating his diet, and teaching him proper basic manners and hygiene. On some nights, a man named Old Nick would visit Ma and Jack, providing them food and other necessities. However, what Jack does not know is that the life he and Ma are living is a complete lie. Old Nick kidnapped Ma when she was 19 years old and had her multiple times. Placing her in the room, she'd eventually have a son with him named Jack. A week after Jack's 5th birthday, Ma finds out that Old Nick has been unemployed for 6 months and could lose his home, including Room. Ma creates a drastic plan to find a way to escape Room before Old Nick comes for them. The plan in question is pretending that Jack is terminally ill, and she must convince her son to have some really good acting skills in such a way for them to get treated and get help safely. The plan fails at first, but when Ma makes Jack fake his own death, Old Nick falls for the stunt this time. Jack secretly escapes and calls for help from nearby police officer, Officer O. Now, Officer O and Jack must return to free Ma. The mother and son are soon taken into a mental hospital for their treatment, and finally, Old Nick faces charges for being and child endangerment. In an attempt to return to the real world, Ma struggles to adjust. Meanwhile, Jack refuses to believe what he sees now is all real and seeks room for comfort once more. Family drama ensues, and Ma is reunited bittersweetly with her family. Besides family drama, it is also mass media drama. Jack and Ma become the talk of the town that further prevents them from trying to live a normal life. The pressure and stress Ma endures lead her to nearly taking her own life. While recovering at the hospital, Jack tries to befriend his extended family. His grandmother tries to welcome him into her home along with her partner, whom Jack calls Steppa, or step-grandfather, also known as Leo. Grandma would tell Jack all sorts of stories of the life his mother, Ma, lived when she was younger and shared their fondest memories together. However, Jack is frustrated in trying to make sense of the new world around him until now. This is due to feeling invalidated from his old experiences. Still, Jack must move forward and allow his emotional attachment from room to disappear. He does this by asking Ma to visit what remains of room one last time before they move into their new and safe own home. The story ends on a seemingly happy ending, yet it's also left open for interpretation. Will the mother and son live a happier life in a real place they could call home? Or will the past, particularly with Old Nick, come back to haunt them? The novel is divided into 5 different long chapters, each of which is titled to represent important events in the mother and son's lives. Presence is a friendly opening to introduce the narrator of the book, Jack. He describes his experiences playing with Ma and the toys he's been given, while learning how to care for himself. Because of his age, his narrative uses simple words, even with some purposely incorrect grammar, like he would say breaked instead of the past tense broken for break, or eaten instead of ate. Despite this, Jack is shown to be very imaginative and has a lot to think about throughout the novel. In Unlying, his ma starts opening up to Jack about the truth of their living situation, and Jack must understand what his mother has been going through. Coming clean only started when Jack noticed bruises and marks on his mother's body, all of which came from Old Nick. In Dying, Ma plans the great escape, but in order for this escape to be successful, she must learn to make even more sacrifices in order to save her son, and then herself. A mother's love is the strongest of all bonds, and despite Jack being a product of Ma's love for him is powerful enough to break all her walls down, fight back against the he had endured for years, and destroy the prison that was seemingly a home behind all those painted walls. After is the aftermath of the mother and son's escape as they recover in a psychiatric hospital. They make new friends there like Noreen, a nurse, and Dr. Clay. Jack also meets his mom's family like her brother Paul, sister-in-law Diana, and Jack's cousin Bronwyn, whom he manages to get along with. The fight for survival in the real world was just as grueling as when they were trapped inside the room. Jack cannot communicate properly. His maturity and emotional complex mirrors that of an infant or an early toddler, so much so that learning becomes a problem and a frustration for him. In Living, the final chapter takes on a slightly more lighthearted tone as Jack makes amends with Ma's family while she is away, eventually adapting to his new surroundings and overcoming his old fears, failures, and further strengthening his bond with his Ma. And that's the whole book. I would honestly like to go deeper in digesting this novel, but enough is enough, and I was once again disturbed by what I read. So after giving you the summary, I guess I'll discuss some parts of the book and analyze its themes, characters, and overall thoughts of the book. I'd like to start by asking and answering the question, is Ma's name ever revealed in the book? No, it never was. I believe the author never intended to mention it on purpose, not even with a hint, unlike the character named Offred, whose real name was possibly June from The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. If you haven't checked my blog post or video from Old 2024, it was to add more ambiguity and complexity to Ma's character. A character known by any other name is deemed as mysterious but appealing in the sense you wish to know more about them. Ma is a character who fought battles internally for years, and her name is not needed to reveal what kind of person she really is. Like how Jack takes over the whole narrative, it allows us viewers to see the world from Jack's eyes, yet wonder if the story would have taken a different path should Ma have had the narrative instead. Speaking of narrative, it makes sense to me on why Jack was the narrator for Room. The book's cover shows the word room in painted letters on a blank wall. The paint used is colorful and bright, as if symbolizing a child's artwork, but when you look closely at the white wall background, you'll notice it's a lot more disturbing than initially intended. As my partner Jerome pointed out, shout out to Jerome who also proofread this script as always, Room looks like it could be a horror genre novel, to which he is partially correct. Disguised like a kid's book, especially with a 5-year-old boy as its narrator, Room is a lot more than that. It is a psychological thriller that gets darker and depressing the further you read into it. It's a psychological thriller that kind of makes you think of songs like that have happy beats and melodies, but their lyrics are about violence, like Foster the People's Pumped Up Kicks, or video games that can get incredibly scary should you make the wrong choices, like the genocide route in Undertale, my favorite video game. Old Nick was the primary antagonist of the book, obviously. There is not much needed to say about this douchebag other than I'm so happy that he got what he deserved in the end, and to all abusers, including mine, out there, I hope you will all rot in prison. Yay! Excuse me. Another possible antagonist or set of them would be Ma's extended family, such as her father refusing to accept Jack as a legitimate child due to him being conceived from rape, or Ma's mother who was nearly given up in trying to raise Jack for a few times in the after and living chapters. Otherwise, Old Nick is still a dirty piece of shit. And I was, let me say it louder for the people in the back, still traumatized by this book. The main themes presented in the book, besides the abuse, violence, and family struggles, was very much isolation. In such a small little bubble, you are often trapped not only by your emotions, but also by your thoughts and very much your captor. The novel, according to Donoghue, was inspired by some fairy tales like Rapunzel, or the real-life story of the Fritzl family escape from a dungeon in Austria. Donoghue also wanted to touch up on claustrophobia and the events after kidnapping, although no hunting true-to-life experiences were what made Donoghue write her novel. Jack, being its voice, was heavily inspired by her 5-year-old son, Finn. Her son's language and usage was also what allowed her to write in Jack's words. Overall, this was one hell of a book to digest. I do not remember why a 6th grade me decided to read the book before and was only creeped out slightly. Truly, rereading books when you're older feels so much different. You'll either grow to enjoy them, understand them better, or feel even more terrified, but otherwise still eager to pick up some important lessons and values from those books. Well, what did you think of this book? Tell me in the comments below. And that is it for tonight's episode of Peach's Reviews Pages. I tried my best to digest the book but also not go through it so as to not make you guys uncomfortable, especially as I'm also writing the script. But I still hope you enjoyed this book blog episode. And yes, I was just away for a month, but depending on the other books that I will be receiving or reading, I'll let you guys know when I'm able to create more episodes or write more reviews for the books I'm reading. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Anyways, I wish you all a pleasant evening or a good night. This was Mara Chua of the Mara Project. I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Bye!